Yeah, digital ill. Yeah, the brain too real.
Imagine you're sitting at the final table of this massive, high-stakes Texas Hold'em tournament.
Okay, I can picture that.
Right, and the pot is just enormous. The tension in the room is completely suffocating.
Oh yeah, you can hear a pin drop.
Exactly. So you look across the table at your opponent, right? You're trying to read their face, trying to, figure out what cards they're actually holding.
Just looking for any kind of tell.
But instead of looking back at you, or even looking at their own hand, your opponent is just casually whispering into their cell phone.
Wait, like completely ignoring the game.
Completely ignoring it. And just think about the psychological weight of that information asymmetry, knowing that they know something you don't.
And that they're coordinating with some outside variable.
Exactly. It would completely shatter your focus. You wouldn't even be playing the cards anymore. You'd be playing the mystery.
Yeah, because that invisible variable just becomes the most dangerous player at the table.
Right.
It forces you to battle your own paranoia before you even make a single move.
And that concept, that weaponized paranoia, is exactly what we are exploring in today's deep dive.
It really is a masterclass in building tension.
It absolutely is. We are digging into this fascinating source document that you, the listener, actually sent our way. It's called the Randy Orton Phone Theory.docs file.
Yeah, it maps out this incredibly chaotic road to professional wrestling's biggest spectacle, WWE's WrestleMania.
And this setup is just so simple, but it's brilliant. You have superstar Randy Orton heading into this massive championship match against Cody Rhodes.
It's a huge match.
Right, but for the past few weeks, on national television, Orton has just been seen backstage quietly talking on his cell phone.
Just having these hushed conversations.
Yeah, no names, no context. And the genius of it is the absolute silence from a production standpoint.
Oh, totally. We don't hear the voice on the other end at all.
Not a single word.
And the commentators aren't given a name to tease either. There's just zero confirmation of who Orton is actually coordinating with.
It's just this one-sided conversation happening on the periphery of the main storyline.
Which is wild for a wrestling show.
It really is. And, even if you have never watched a single wrestling match in your life, you need to pay attention to how this is constructed.
Oh, absolutely, from a pure storytelling perspective.
Right, think about the shows you binge watch or, the thrillers you read.
Yeah.
How does a writer build that agonizing, edge-of-your-seat anticipation without actually writing any dialogue?
By starving the audience of context.
Exactly. They let the viewer's imagination do all the heavy lifting. So our mission today is to take this document and really break down the top theories about who is on the other end of that line.
And these theories scale from, deeply personal psychological warfare all the way to massive industry-shaking corporate power struggles.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the document starts with a pretty wild premise.
Yeah, let's start with the most insidious theory presented here. It focuses entirely inward.
The chilling possibility that there's absolutely no one on the other end of that phone.
Which is just terrifying to think about.
It really is. The idea that it's essentially a prop for his own badness.
Right.
The document points out Randy Orton's two main monikers, right? The Viper and the Apex Predator.
Classic nicknames.
But it also highlights this crucial piece of his character's history. This is a man who has famously claimed for years that he literally hears voices in his head.
I mean, what's fascinating here is that the theme music he walks out to literally starts with the lyrics, "I hear voices in my head, they counsel me, they understand."
Yes. So by setting up this visual of him whispering into a dead phone week after week,
it taps directly into that established lore.
It really does.
It suggests that this isn't, a logistical conversation about planning a match. It is pure, unfiltered psychological warfare directed at Cody Rhodes.
And the millions of people watching at home. It's like that classic horror movie trope, right?
Where the call is coming from inside the house.
Exactly. The babysitter gets the terrifying call, the police trace the line, and the operator screams, "Get out!" But in this scenario, the call is coming from inside Orton's own head.
Which makes him so unpredictable.
But, I have to push back on this premise just a little bit.
Okay, lay it on me.
Look at Orton's resume. He is a heavily decorated, multi-time world champion. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh, without a doubt.
Does a veteran with his pedigree really need to resort to pretending to talk to an imaginary friend on a cell phone?
You think it makes him look weak?
Kind of. Doesn't it look desperate? Or is the narrative danger here that those internal voices he's always talked about are finally taking over? Is he actually losing his grip?
Well, you might view it as desperation, but look at the tape. When a veteran's physical dominance begins to plateau against a younger, faster, highly motivated opponent.
Like Cody Rhodes.
Exactly. Against someone like Cody, psychological warfare isn't just an option. It's the only way to survive.
So you're saying it's a strategic move?
Yes, because the most dangerous weapon a fading predator possesses is unpredictability. If Orton is slipping into complete, unhinged madness, that makes him entirely unscoutable.
Oh, I see what you're saying. If I'm Cody Rhodes, I can train to counter a specific wrestling hold, right?
Right.
I can strategize against a specific physical attack.
But how do you train to fight a man who is taking his tactical instructions from the ether?
You can't.
The mystery itself becomes an offensive maneuver. It throws Cody off his game before the opening bell even rings.
Because he's always looking over his shoulder.
Yeah. If Cody is worried about physical interference, he keeps his eyes on the entrance ramp. But if the interference is purely psychological...
There is nowhere for him to look. He is fighting a ghost.
Exactly. You cannot out-strategize an opponent who isn't even operating on the same plane of reality as you.
Wow, that completely reframes the entire match.
It really does.
But let's assume he's not just battling his own mind, right? If Orton isn't listening to his own echoes and he's actually conspiring with a tangible person...
Then we have to look at who has the most to gain from Cody Rhodes losing.
And that trail leads directly out of the locker room and straight into the boardroom. So what does this all mean?
Well, this brings us to the executive power struggle theory.
A huge part of the document.
Yeah, this section focuses heavily on Paul Levesque, known globally as Triple H.
Right.
The source refers to him as the cerebral assassin, which perfectly encapsulates his strategic, long-game mindset.
He's always thinking 10 steps ahead.
And more importantly for this narrative, Triple H is the mentor figure who helped mold Randy Orton's early career.
Okay, to really grasp the weight of this theory, we have to take a step back and explain the actual business mechanics of professional wrestling to the listener.
Yeah, because it's not just a show.
Exactly. The WWE isn't just a television program. It's a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded enterprise. In this world, a championship belt isn't just a shiny storyline trophy they hand out to the winner of a fake fight.
Not at all.
That belt is a massive corporate designation.
Whoever holds that championship becomes the literal public-facing ambassador of the global brand.
Right. They are the ones doing the morning talk shows.
Ringing the bell at the New York Stock Exchange.
Yeah.
Acting as the focal point for international marketing campaigns. Controlling the champion means controlling the financial and creative direction of the entire company.
Which makes the dichotomies presented in this document just fascinating.
Entirely.
The source points out that behind the scenes, Randy Orton is widely viewed as a Triple H guy. They share deep historical roots and a very similar cutthroat philosophy.
Whereas Cody Rhodes is framed as a Vince guy.
Right, someone aligned with the older original guard of the company.
And this is where the document introduces a massive catalyst for this theory. Stephanie McMahon.
Yes. The document highlights a very specific recent Monday Night Raw segment involving Stephanie and Cody.
Yeah, what started as a seemingly standard in-ring interaction just devolved. It ended with palpable, unresolved tension between the two of them.
So wait, how does Stephanie's tense conversation with Cody translate into Orton whispering on a phone? I mean, are we really jumping from an awkward promo to a real-time hostile corporate takeover?
We absolutely are. Because in the architecture of wrestling storytelling, executives rarely get their own hands dirty.
Oh, that makes sense.
If Stephanie McMahon and Triple H feel their grip on the company's direction is slipping because a Vince guy like Cody is gaining too much momentum.
They need a proxy.
Exactly. They need an enforcer to stop Cody and ensure the ultimate prize stays firmly in their camp.
So by having Orton coordinate with Triple H over the phone,
it transforms a standard athletic contest into a high-stakes proxy war for executive dominance.
Wow. So Orton isn't just fighting to win a match, he's acting as a corporate fixer.
Yes.
He is stepping into the ring to establish his mentor's absolute supremacy over the brand. It's brilliant corporate strategy, just masked as physical combat.
It is, but if we are examining the McMahon family tree to understand this proxy war, we have to acknowledge the other branches.
Oh, boy.
And some of those branches are known less for calculated, cerebral maneuvering, and much more for absolute, unbridled disruption.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because this is where the theories escalate into pure chaos.
Oh, chaos.
The document outlines the McMahon wildcards. Let's start with Shane McMahon. Shane O'Mac.
The source material literally dubs him the wild card. Shane thrives in chaotic environments.
He really does.
And the document notes that the road to WrestleMania is historically the exact window where he loves to make a dramatic, paradigm-shifting return.
The document paints an incredibly vivid, cinematic picture of how this could play out.
Oh, it's so good.
Right. Imagine it's the final Friday night broadcast before WrestleMania. Orton is shown backstage, phone to his ear. For the first time in weeks, he actually speaks out loud.
Giving us a clue.
Yeah, he just says, "Okay, I'll see you out there," and hangs up. The broadcast cuts to the final segment in the arena, the lights go down, and then the iconic sound of the cash register hits.
The pop could be deafening.
The "Here Comes the Money" music blasts through the stadium, and out walks Shane McMahon to stand shoulder to shoulder with Randy Orton.
The arena would become completely unglued. But, that chaos contrasts really sharply with the other McMahon theory.
Which centers around the ultimate architect of the company, Vince McMahon.
Right. And the source material asks us to imagine the pop if Vince McMahon himself were the one orchestrating this.
The document explicitly notes that Vince and Randy Orton go way, way back.
They do.
But we also have to contextualize this with reality. The massive elephant in the room here is that Vince McMahon has been completely out of the wrestling picture recently amid his real-world trial.
Right. He's been effectively exiled from the empire he built.
Exactly. So because of that massive real-world absence, his return wouldn't just be a storyline twist.
No, it would be a seismic, reality-bending shock to the entire industry.
Absolutely.
If Orton's talking to Vince, the document makes a crucial distinction. This isn't just about winning a wrestling match. This is about total control.
This is where the duality of these two wildcard theories is so striking to me.
How so?
Well, Shane represents pure chaotic energy. He is a disruptor who thrives when the established order is falling apart.
Yeah, exactly.
But Vince, on the other hand, represents total, unyielding, authoritarian control. He is the architect demanding the keys back to his house.
That's a great way to put it.
But I have a fundamental issue with this dynamic. In either of these scenarios, is Randy Orton actually using the McMahons to get into Cody's head? Or are the McMahons just using Orton as a pawn to reclaim their lost territory?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really comes down to the mechanics of leverage.
Okay.
Orton is the one stepping into the physical line of fire. He's the tangible threat.
Yeah.
But the McMahons represent vast institutional power.
Right.
Whoever holds Randy Orton's loyalty right now essentially wields the most dangerous weapon in the company.
They hold the gun.
Exactly. If it's Shane, he's using Orton as a battering ram to smash the existing power structure. If it's Vince, he's using Orton to systematically dismantle the new guard and forcibly reinstate his absolute authority.
It's the ultimate trump card. Cody thinks he is training to fight a man, but he's actually stepping into the ring against an entire institution.
But, what if we're looking too closely at the internal WWE family tree?
Oh, here we go.
What if the person on the other end of the line isn't a McMahon at all, but someone whose shadow looms over the entire global entertainment industry?
Now we are venturing into the existential threats. The document calls this theory the final boss. We are talking about The Rock.
And the source material is remarkably blunt about this possibility. It simply states, this changes everything.
It really would.
The theory suggests that The Rock has been quietly pulling the strings in the background for months. If Orton is aligned with The Rock in a quest for ultimate power, the document states that Cody Rhodes isn't walking into a wrestling match.
He's walking into a meticulously laid trap.
Precisely.
And the logic here is ironclad, because Cody Rhodes has deep unresolved history with the final boss.
Oh, huge history.
They have clashed recently, and The Rock promised he would be back for Cody. Let me frame this using a gaming analogy because I think it perfectly illustrates the mechanism of this trap.
I love a good gaming analogy.
I look at The Rock in this scenario like the final boss of a massive 100-hour video game. The final boss never fights the hero in the early rounds, right?
Never.
He sits in his fortress and lets his highest level, most lethal enforcers do all the grueling, dirty work.
And Orton is the elite enforcer.
Exactly. Orton's job isn't necessarily to destroy Cody. His job is to wear the hero down.
To soften Cody up.
Yes, break his spirit, exhaust his resources before the final boss even has to lift a single finger.
This trap makes terrifying sense because it positions Orton not as a lone wolf, but as the deadliest lieutenant in a sprawling global empire.
Right, it gives Orton access to infinite resources and protection.
But we also have to examine the final bonus theory the document provides.
The nostalgia play.
Yeah, which pivots entirely from building a future empire to resurrecting the past. The evolution returns theory.
Right. The document asks, what if the call wasn't about the future? What if it was about the past?
It explores the possibility of Orton reconnecting with his former Evolution members.
And for you listening, Evolution was this legendary faction, a formalized, incredibly dominant alliance of wrestlers from years ago that included icons like Batista and Ric Flair.
The source says a reunion would be a massive legacy moment.
And it would be.
It would trigger pure nostalgia. The visual of those legends flanking Orton would be an incredible spectacle.
It would, but I mean, I'm really struggling to reconcile this with Orton's core character motivation.
Really? Why is that?
Think about the psychology of the apex predator. Does an alliance with The Walk, where he essentially serves as a henchman, or a nostalgic reunion with Batista and Flair, where he just plays the hits from 2 decades ago, actually serve his legacy?
I see what you mean.
Why would one of the most ruthless, self-serving competitors of all time suddenly agree to play second fiddle in someone else's movie?
This raises an important question, and honestly, it's the quintessential dilemma of an elite athlete in the twilight of their career.
A ticking clock.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Motivation completely shifts when you realize your window is closing.
Hmm.
Do these phone calls represent Orton proactively securing his future by aligning with the biggest dog in the yard, The Rock?
He trades his autonomy, sure, but he gains invincibility.
He becomes untouchable by association.
Right.
Or do these calls represent a deep vulnerability? Is he so terrified of facing a younger star like Cody alone that he's desperately clinging to his past glories?
Trying to get the old band back together.
Exactly, with Batista and Flair.
Yeah.
In that scenario, he trades his current killer instinct for the comfort of nostalgia.
Wow.
Both choices demand massive sacrifices regarding who he is as a character, but both result in disastrous physical consequences for Cody Rhodes.
It's mesmerizing because every single theory we've discussed completely recontextualizes who Randy Orton is in this exact moment.
It really does.
Is he the lunatic hallucinating voices? Is he the corporate proxy executing orders for Triple H and Stephanie?
Right.
Is he the blunt instrument for Vince or Shane's hostile takeover, the loyal lieutenant for The Rock, or just the aging veteran seeking the comfort of his old faction?
And the absolute brilliance of this storytelling device is that right now, as long as we can't hear the voice on the other end of the line, he is simultaneously all of them.
Schrodinger's Viper.
Schrodinger's Viper. That is the perfect distillation of this entire mystery.
We have journeyed from the claustrophobic terror of psychological warfare, navigated the intricate mechanics of corporate proxy battles,
Braced for the institutional shockwaves of the McMahon wildcards.
and weighed the existential dread of a final boss trap against the nostalgic pull of a legacy reunion.
It truly proves how versatile a single, mundane, just a cell phone can be when utilized by masterful storytellers who understand the value of withholding information.
It really does. And for you listening, there is a massive takeaway here that extends far beyond the wrestling ring.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether you are crafting a marketing pitch, writing a screenplay, or just trying to figure out why a certain mystery novel has you completely hooked at 2 in the morning, this deep dive proves the undeniable power of the fear of the unknown.
When you deliberately withhold one critical piece of context, you force your audience to lean forward.
You force them to invest their own anxieties and theories into your narrative. It is the ultimate tool for engagement.
Because the unseen threat will always loom larger than the visible one. The imagination just has no budget constraints.
That is so true.
But before we wrap up this analysis, I actually want to leave you with one final lingering thought to mull over, building on the psychology of the source document we've been dissecting.
Okay, what do you have?
We have spent this entire time operating under one massive underlying assumption, that Randy Orton is using these phone calls to set up an ally to help him defeat Cody Rhodes.
Well, yeah, that is the logical foundation of every single theory. He is calling for backup.
Right, but what if everyone has the timeline entirely wrong?
Wait, what do you mean?
What if these hushed conversations aren't about the upcoming WrestleMania match at all? What if Randy Orton is so brutally confident in his own abilities that he is already looking past Cody Rhodes?
Oh, wow.
What if Cody is just a stepping stone, a formality, and the mysterious caller on the other end of the line isn't an ally, but the man Orton plans to destroy next?
Oh, that shatters the entire framework. He's not calling for help. He's calling his next victim to tell them he's coming.
Precisely. It completely flips the power dynamic.
That is incredible. It just goes to show that the moment you think you have all the cards figured out, you realize you might be playing the wrong game entirely.
Exactly.
Keep connecting those dots, keep questioning the narrative, and we will see you on the next deep dive.